Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to this new version of the Reluctant Medium podcast. For those of you who don't know me, I am Dr. Maria Rothenberger, and I run the podcast, The Reluctant Medium, and have decided it is way too polished and honestly way too time consuming. I'll be totally honest. It's really time consuming to publish, to edit, to polish a podcast. And I thought, you know what? I want to be more real. I'd love to be more real and just have a good conversation and spread some light. I want to be able to talk with and to invite people into conversations just to spread light. Not because they have to sell something or because they want to sell something or they're trying to get people to buy something. I really just want to have conversations with people who want to spread some light. And so I'm starting to do these lives every week on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Pacific time. Keep in mind that date and time may change in the future. So if you are watching and or listening to this later in the future, today is November. Well, we are in November in 2024. If you are listening or watching this later, please check my website and or Instagram and see if the day and time has changed from this beginning, just new thing that I'm starting to have some really cool spreading light conversations. So, the cool thing about this venue is that you get to be here and ask whatever questions you would like to ask. Every other week, I'll be doing a solo cast, which you can ask me then anything about spirit babies, about mental health. I'm a psychotherapist gone rogue, really. I'm doing mediumship now and intuitive readings and things like that. And sometimes they are coinciding. Sometimes they are integrated. And so I'm having a really good year around being authentic, being my authentic self. So you can ask me anything about mediumship, about readings, about spirit babies stuff. That is my specialty in the mediumship world. Fertility is my specialty in the psychotherapy world. And we have all kinds of guests in line to have a chat with you who are experts in their own right on their own topics that you get to just ask questions live. How cool is that? And of course, again, if you are watching and are listening later to the recording, come back during a live and we will be happy to answer your questions. So if you have questions for my guest today or for myself, you can just pop them in the comments there below. I will be scrolling through and asking the questions of our guest. And I'm so stoked. Let's get started, shall we? This is about an hour long. Welcome. Maximum of an hour. It might be a little bit shorter depending on, who am I kidding? It never goes shorter. I just ask all kinds of cool questions and things come to me, and people that I get to talk to are so amazing that I just can't stop asking the questions. So it's probably going to be an hour. Okay. First question from Inner Circle Crystals. How do you go about specializing with babies from the spirit world? Is that something you purposefully request of spirit? That's a really good question. Let's start there real quick, and then I will introduce our guest and invite her in today. You can hear more about my story on the Reluctant Medium podcast. I did a podcast episode in July of 2020 called My Coming Out Story. I did not ask, actually, to do this kind of work. I am not a person who grew up sensitive, I was sensitive, but I was not a person who grew up connected to the other side. And instead, I'm a psychotherapist, very science-minded, and I specialized in fertility issues. And one day, a client's spirit babies came to me through mediumship. So that's what happened. Long story short. Yes, the spirit babies have their own, I like to say their own realm or their own energy frequency that I connect to. I connect to other beings too. Ancestors, angels, guides, starseeds, aliens, That's a new one. All kinds of beings, but spirit babies have their own frequency that I can tune into really well. They are my loves. All right. Hope that answers your question. All right. Our guest today was referred to me by my social media manager and assistant, Bailey Sutphin, who is amazing. So anybody that you send me, Bailey, I know is like top notch. And just reading through this person's website, it's like, oh yeah, she's got a story to tell. I've got Marie Russel here today. Just want to I want to read a little bit about her bio here so you get a sense of who she is. She writes on her bio, I can't wait to know more. I've been a widow, wife again, mama, sister, friend, yoga trainer and coach, cancer survivor, but mostly a loving human being. And those are the kind of folks that I can't wait to pull onto this podcast and these Instagram lives for you, because, man, just those words alone, you're like, tell me more about your life, my friend. I am going to now invite in Marie Russel. I did see you here, my dear. I don't see the request to join. If you can do that again, that would be awesome. I don't know if they expire at some point. Love back at you, Bailey. Marie, I see you say I'm here. I'm waving back at you. If you can just click that request to join button again, I will invite you in. And while we're waiting for that, glad that was helpful. Inner Circle Crystals. It is an interesting ride. It is an interesting ride. How do I request to join? So I sent you a little, no worries. I sent you a little explanation on that. You should just click the movie icon, has a little plus sign in there. And then you can, you have to scroll to the top of the comments to see it. I'm not sure. There should be next to the little, it says comment. It's a little like box that says comment. There's a little movie icon with a plus sign in it. Just click that and click request to join. That should work. And someone is saying you have to scroll to the top of the comments to see it. I'm not sure from your view. From my view, it's right on the bottom to comment. And while we're waiting for you, I'll continue. These are the benefits of live conversations, right? Is that this is the realness of it, rather than this whole edited down, polished, there she is, polished view and listening. We get this kind of stuff, which is so much fun. Here we go. Here you are, Pink. There you are.
Hello.
Yay! Marie, welcome.
Thank you. It's so fun to be here. I was trying to do it from my computer and it was just the strangest thing. It wouldn't let me. So now I'm on my phone.
Oh, you know what? I have heard of that. I'm on my phone too. I think I tried it one time on the computer and it didn't, yeah, same thing. It didn't work. I don't know if that's part of tech challenged person over here, or what, but welcome. So glad you made it.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. It's been one of those days where I've been wearing many, many hats. And so really looking forward to this, because this is one of my favorite things to do, is to meet people online that are like-minded and have interesting stories and are doing great work. And so I'm really happy to be here. Thank you to Bailey for the connection. She's so fun. She's in the yoga
Can
training.
we give,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, can we give major kudos to Bailey? Oh, talk
She's so
about,
amazing.
I know.
You're gonna
Talk
have to give
about
me a minute.
good
Let
humans.
me. Oh, bummer. That's okay. It's what it is. I'm just gonna have to hold my phone.
Oh, Yeah. Oh, that's one of the beautiful things too. This is like super casual, like kickback conversation. You don't have to have like cool background and like all the lighting and all that, whatever. Nope. Let's just be us.
Here we are. Here we are.
And
Starting
you've
fresh.
had quite a journey just being you, huh? You've been through some stuff. And
Well,
I'm so delighted to get to talk to you about. I mean, you don't have to share all of the ins and outs, but I'd love to know what you would love to chat about today. And is yoga your main, is that what you do? Or do you, like you said, you wore many hats today? Is that all a part of what you do?
I wore many hats today. Yeah, I guess primarily I'm a yoga trainer. I've been in the yoga practice since I was 20 and I'm now 44. So I
Mm.
feel kind of excited that I started so young because I have a good, strong base for practice and teaching. And so I run the It's Yoga teacher trainings. I started in San Francisco in 2004 was my teacher training. And I was lucky enough to really connect with the founder of It's Yoga, Larry Schultz, and we ended up having a 7-year marriage.
Oh,
And
wow.
when he, yeah, when he passed in 2011, he kind of passed me the torch. And
Mm.
since then, I've been doing a lot of things, traveling internationally. We've got a lot of yoga graduates all around the world and people that have moved through our curriculum. And in about 2019, I started my Yoga Off the Mat program, which is a kind of like an online coaching. It was a training. We have tools and modules and meditations and practices that we use so that we can support our practitioners in really taking that practice, the feelings that they're feeling, the goals that they have of flexibility, strength, peace, contentment, and how to do that off your mat and in your relationships and in your life. Because,
Ah,
we're only on our mat for a certain amount of time if we're lucky. And I could see over the years just a real disconnect between feeling really great as long as you were at a yoga retreat or as long as
mm.
you were practicing or teaching. But then, we have relationships. We're working with people that may or may not be interested in yoga or the things that we're interested in. And how do we relate to them? How do we extend love? How do we stay in our center? How do we stay aligned to love as we move through life? And that's really my passion. And then as a little side thing, I have a shop where I sell like textiles and just all sorts of fun,
Oh my
yummy smelling
gosh,
things that I
that's
love. That it's
awesome.
fun. So yeah, it's
Do you wash
it's really
windows too?
I could though. I'd probably be really good at it. It was like that's so fun.
So great.
So yeah.
Okay. So, man, there are so many things that I want to ask you about in just what you said there. But the first thing I want to say or want to ask is why yoga? What drew you to yoga?
So it's so funny you asked this because we were talking about this just now. I just finished our teacher training at 9 p.m. and then raced home and ate something real quick. And I
Oh
was
my.
telling the students, when I was 20, I had a tumor in my hip, and I was really shocked because I was so young and I thought I was healthy. And I was in college at Ohio State at the time, and it was just like this kind of health thing that happened, and it was really traumatic. And I'd have surgery and I couldn't walk for a while, and it was just really kind of a heavy thing. And I had a friend who said, you should try yoga. There's a studio down the street. It's called It's Yoga, and it's $90 for 90 days. And it's all about breathing and moving. And I think it'd be really good for you. And I was like, oh, yoga's so weird. I'm, not interested, not interested. But I gratefully pressed me on and on. And so I finally went, and I loved it. I felt like it was really the first time in my life that I heard what we like to call the inner teacher
Yeah.
um, speak to me. And it was in one of the postures, a seated forward fold. And I just heard this voice say, this is so good for you.
Mm.
And I was hooked. I just kept going and kept going, and really kind of had it in my heart to do the teacher training at some point. I had met Larry Schultz. He came to Columbus to do an event for the teacher training. And so I took a class from him, and I just thought his style was so fun and light. And I like kind of was, a mess on my mat. I had a lot of physical discomfort and limitations. And I just felt so encouraged by his energy. And so, a few years later, I ended up, I was in public policy. I was working for a senator. I thought I was going to save the world and conflict resolution, and got involved in politics, and realized really quickly that it was not the place where I really felt like I could make the impact I wanted to make.
Yeah.
And so I went to San Francisco and did his teacher training, and we learned about so much stuff. And tonight we were talking about the chakras and energy centers. I'm sure but if someone's listening and doesn't, and we're talking about the emotional implications of just energy and how it manifests in the body. Mm-hmm. And it led me to see that I had some part in it, the hip surgery. I had my energy, my thoughts, my unhealed traumas were creating density in my own body. And so it really kind of opened up this whole new portal of living, of realizing that what I was thinking about was really important, and that it had an effect on everything in my life. And so, yeah, that's really why yoga, I love it. It has really opened so many doors for me. It's taught me how to stay healthy in my body. I mean, I've had health issues since, but I've always had this as like a foundation, this practice of connecting to my breath and realizing that for me, life is really about connecting to spirit and realizing that you are an extension of the divine. And once that is in place, we're limitless. Like, we can do anything. We can do handstands, we can touch our toes, we can, tie our shoes. That's an important thing in life. We can bend over, reach up. And so, yeah, that's why yoga.
Yeah, I'm sure there's so much more depth to it too. I just wanted to ask you, because most of what you said there, only at the very end was it, we can tie our shoes, we can bend forward, we can forward fold, etc. But most of what you said was about emotional and spiritual transformation.
Totally.
I mean, massive.
Well, that's what yoga was. That's what yoga was to me back then, and that's what it is now. And, the industry's changed so much. I've been a part of it, at least the teacher training parts, for a good 15, 18 years. And I find it really important that we train teachers to remember that it is not a physical practice. We're not our bodies. We're spirit in a body. Our bodies are like our cars. No one identifies themselves with their car. They might like their car. Their car might make them feel good. But that's how I see the body. We live in it. We're spirits in a body. And the yoga practices are really about that. I mean, the first 3 tenets of yoga are: now is the time for yoga. Yoga is stopping how the mind turns so that I can abide in my own nature. And that has nothing to do with touching your toes. That's benefit. You might look good, you might feel good, but those are benefits of learning how to train your mind to see light more than you see the dark. It doesn't mean you don't see the dark. It means you have a way of processing and healing. And that's yoga. I think if I really distill it down to one word, it's a healing practice. And then you've got the Yoga Alliance and all of these, things that say you can't say it's healing. And I'm like, but it is.
That's how I talk about mediumship.
Nice.
I can't say it's healing, but it is. Yeah. I'll tell you, my experience with yoga was when I was dealing with fertility issues, and I very left brain sciencey, like, okay, so it's body movement, okay, it's good for my body, blah blah blah. But I started doing yoga, and it is the first time that I truly understood the concept of letting go, because being in whatever poses, I was forcing my body, just as one does with like IVF or like, doing all these things to try to conceive. I was forcing it, and I was angry with it. Just as I was trying to do in yoga.
Yeah.
Get in that pose.
Yeah. Right. You see a lot. You see a lot of how your behaviors are,
Yeah, you really, it's like a mirror, right? In front of your face. Oh my God. No wonder my body's not cooperating. Or it's trying to, but I'm yelling at it. Yeah. And so the letting go was, okay, I'm really going to just see where my body takes this pose. And then wouldn't you know it, it's like easy.
Right.
It's crazy
It really,
that,
it really is. We tell students all the time, and I mean, thousands of people over the years, like really pushing it or trying to force their bodies into something. And it's like the minute you allow it to be what it is, you accept it for what it is, everything gets easier on the mat and off the mat.
yeah.
It's, we have this programming that's so like, productive and do. And we think that we're doing it, but it's being done through us. Like my yoga teachers say, people go to yoga and they're like, oh, I'm going to go do yoga. And he's like, no, man, yoga's going to do you.
Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. There were so many aha moments. I thought I was so smart, had it all together. Nope. Older I get, I'm like, I know crap. Nothing. Nothing. I love that. Okay, so you had mentioned in the beginning that part of the work, or probably the majority of the work that you do, is to teach people how to take how they transform in a yoga practice to their like real life with other humans. And how do you do that? In a nutshell, Marie, go.
Okay. Well, I think people need time to process. So I think that being a good listener has been really helpful. I think that so supporting people in moving through the questions that they have in their heart, and we've got a lot of tools that we use. Like I work a lot with forgiveness. It's not the sexiest word in the world right now, but forgiveness is really the key to happiness. I'm a student in A Course in Miracles, and I've been studying that material for a long time. And basically, if you don't know it, I think you do, you shook your head, but metaphysical workbook, it's basically a retraining of the fear programming. And
Ooh, I love how you put that. Can you just say that again?
well, it's a retraining of the fear programming. So we have fear programming, and I that's my belief. That's what I've seen in the people I've worked with, in myself and my family, and it's not conducive to a happy life. It's designed for your excellence. It's not designed for you to grow. It's designed to keep you small and limited and afraid. And so the Course of Miracles is a mental training. It's basically like, these mantras, these lessons that you can apply to your life. And when I started to really do that, because was 30 years older than me, my family had disowned me. I mean, there was so much drama in my life, and I was feeling a lot of those lower energy feelings of guilt and shame and just bad about my decisions, but like wanting to go in a certain direction because that's where my heart was going. But, there was all this other stuff going on. And so the course was really instrumental in supporting me in realizing that I was innocent. Yeah, like sit with that, man. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm innocent, sister, brother. Like, this is just something that is a part of your experience, but we have choices. And really the work, I think, you have a choice in your asanas, your postures. You can choose to push it, you can choose to modify, you can touch your toes, you can put your hands on your knees, and you also have those same choices off your mat, how you respond. Do you take things personally? How do you not take things personally? Like that's hard. We all have heard of the 4 agreements, and they're beautiful and I love them, but like really, how do I not take this personal when someone I love is coming at me and saying, you hurt me?
Yep.
you know so it takes a lot of strength, it takes a lot of inner knowing, and allowing other people to have their thoughts and feelings, being responsible for your thoughts and feelings. So we work with people to kind of unwind, like everything in our minds can be really mixed up. And so I like to support people and like, let's categorize this. Okay, that's an expectation. Okay, that's a want, that's a need, that's a fear, that's a resentment, that's a grievance, that's a regret. And then once we have that awareness, we can heal.
Mm-hmm.
But if we're not aware and we're just, it's all mixed up and we're just reacting and living and being a victim of the worlds that we see, then that's just our reality. But we have one of the trainers tonight, I'm like, we have a choice. And when you make the choice to be who you were designed to be rather than who you've become, you know, this adapted personality, this survivor, the one that we put on all of these just different personality behaviors, people are not their behaviors,
Right.
their behaviors are the sum of our thoughts and our feelings. And so if we can learn how to train our minds out of disempowering thought programming and into empowered, loving thoughts and feelings, then we show up very differently. And it's just been so fun to watch this within my own life and within the clients that I've had the privilege of getting intimate with, because it's very intimate work. It's not generally dinner conversation, it's like, it's unique relationship. It's a unique conversation, but I really feel like this is what time is for. I'm like, what else we're doing if we're not healing? And when we have awareness and we heal, then we can create the life that we want, and we can have a vision that's really big and super conscious and exciting. And then we can have the confidence and the self-worth to actually step into that, because I believe it's available to anyone who wants it. But like the Course teaches us, purification is essential first. And so we've got to purify aspects of ourselves that are withholding the love, that are presence within us. And so I hope that answered the question, but I mean, that's kind of
Yeah. Again, I'm sure there's so much more you can say about that. I love what you just said about the whole, the pause that we took around "you are innocent," because that is purity, right? In the fertility, or excuse me, in the therapy world, internal family systems, they talk about the true self being calm, confident, secure, capable, all those beautiful, wonderful, pure, innocent things. And when we respond from that place, it's like you said, you show up so much different. So you teach people how to do that through yoga.
Yeah.
What?
It's crazy. I mean, I'm not sure that all yoga is like that. I
was going to ask that. Yeah.
In my own cave. I've been really lucky because I had a master teacher, and I also had a life coach for 15 years who was a master in A Course in Miracles. She was a brilliant woman who, I mean, like, I'm almost moved just thinking about her. It's been a minute. She passed in 2016, and she was on my board. I mean, she was so instrumental in shaping the way that I was showing up to my life. Like, she was the one person in my life that I could take anything to, and there was not a smidge of judgment. Like, there was nothing there. There was no judgment, but there was always an alternative. Anytime I wanted to stay in victim consciousness, there was always this invitation to rise above. And it wasn't that we ignored that, but we extracted the lesson. And I think that's what the work of forgiveness really does, is that we can look at resentments and grievances. We can look at the things that trouble us, that trigger us, and we can see it differently if we choose to. And given we're willing to see it differently, we do. And that's when the soul lesson comes through. The soul lesson being, a characteristic of the divine. It's anything from strength, detachment, clarity, determination, love, unconditional love. And then when you can ground into that as the characteristic of actually who you are, you're not resentful. You're not the person who's, regretful or sad. You're actually quite strong and clear. But that's the healing work that we're talking about. It's like, how do I step into that? Because right now I'm feeling like I'm drowning in resentment. And so having someone that you can be drowning with, and they're gonna like hold the lifeline and be like, sister, come on up, like, it's gonna be okay, I promise you. And that was really huge for me. I mean, 15 years we worked together. Every 2 weeks this woman was with me, through everything, every decision I was making. I was running things by her. I think that was really one of the reasons why I've been so committed to really making sure that yoga off the mat, yoga off the mat, whatever we want to call it, comes down to really self-realization. Like, who am I? And it's so much more. Like, I can do all the things. Like, I really can. I can do all of the things. But what I'm most proud of are my relationships, you know, and they've not always been easy. Like,
Nope.
I'm most proud of the way that I show up with my mother, the way that I show up with my husband. And we have had it. I mean, it's not that it's been like, ooh, fairy, fairy. We've had it. I mean, it's been rough, but we work it, you know, and like that's where I think that, you know, we need more of this in the world. More people that are willing to like really like pull their navel in and like go for it and be like, I want to have the best experience I can. Nothing's going to take me down. And when I'm down, I'm going to just keep trucking through this mind stuff because, you know, when we clear our minds and we heal, we are not healed alone.
Mm-hmm.
We heal, then the people around us heal. I mean, there are people in my life that are different human beings now, and I don't want to take all the credit, but I'll take some of it because of the work that I did in that relationship. And it gives people permission to set down, you know, their stuff. And then we can all be a little bit more authentic, a little bit more heart-centered. And that's big stuff.
Permission.
You know? Yes.
Man, I
exactly.
heard you say so much, because not only is there permission for you to be yourself, permission for them to be themselves, but there's also within that permission, it sounds like to me, you're saying an acceptance of how people are showing up right now. And if they want to be different, including yourself, yay. And if not, yay. It's all good. It's all fine.
We don't
and
the effect of others. And I think that's what I learned the most is that, you know, people get so drawn into all these different narratives. They get drawn into different relationships, different situations. And I'm not saying I don't still, but I rebound quicker, you know, and I'm much more.
That's a really good point. Yes.
I'm much more invested in my energy. Like, how am I feeling? Mm-hmm. You know, I've so much more protection happening around my energy centers than I did, you know, even because the thing about yoga is that it just keeps developing. Like, it's not like you graduate and you're like, oh, that was fun. It's not like like a game and that's when you perform. It's like, it's this never ending process. My yoga teacher used to say, every day I wake up, I'm a beginner again.
Every day. That's right. So, okay, what are some things here in the US? It has been a little bit of a rough week or two for a lot of people. I've had many people emailing, calling, I need an appointment right now. Okay, this fear and things that are really happening here right now and all over the world, really. What are some immediate, because it feels very crisis-y for people, right? What are some things, like top 1, 2, maybe 3 things that you advise people to really focus on?
I think it comes down to what you value. You know, I think that sometimes people don't realize that when they allow themselves to get pulled into sad things, depressive things, fear thoughts, that when they're doing that, that's what they're valuing, you know? So, you know, I'm Lebanese. And so my family, there's a lot happening in the Middle East right now. And, you know, about 6 weeks ago, things took a turn. And I mean, I don't really know because I honestly have not been allowing myself to become consumed into the narratives. And it doesn't mean that I'm not empathetic or I don't feel the pain of the people. That's not what I'm saying. But I feel a great responsibility to, because I have a beautiful home and a beautiful family and all the food that I need and a good life and fun clothes. And I, you know, I have so much. I almost feel like I have a responsibility, not out of guilt, but I think that joy is so like when you're in joy in the midst of, you know, insanity, like that. And I don't think that hatred ever towards anyone is ever the answer, ever. I really don't. And there was a lot of people, and I, you know, even in this country, there's people saying all sorts of stuff about blah, blah, blah. You know, I really like to think I don't really know all of it. I think that I'm being fed a lot of information. I don't necessarily believe that it's all true. You know, there was I certainly did. but that just caused more suffering. And so the yoga practice really teaches us how to get out of suffering.
Beautiful.
You know? And so, yeah, I guess what I would say to people is like, it's really not changing that much. Your mind is spinning out. Try and focus on what's in front of you. Gratitude is the highest vibration. What can you be grateful for right now? Do you know, our minds are addicted to fear. They really are. We are addicted to it. And so it's like we don't realize that if we think that we're at the effect of it. Oh, you know, it's like I'm a victim of this. It's like, no, you're not. Everything's fine for you. Just relax. Like, and it might sound like I'm not being compassionate. It's not, but it's not. It's like I just don't want to subscribe to, you know, all of it. Like, oh, you poor thing. It's so hard for you. And what about that? And what about this? It's like, I think we're actually doing much better than we are.
Yeah. It sounds like that Course in Miracles. When I think of Course in Miracles, I think of, oh my gosh, Return to Love.
Yeah.
What is her name?
Marianne.
What's her name? Thank you, Marianne Williamson. It sounds like to me you're saying return to love. Return. No need to be in fear. Return to love.
The Course of Miracles teaches us that fear is an illusion, and the world is an illusion. And so it's like now we're just like living in a movie thinking it's real. It's like, I think that yoga and meditation and those types of practices have really allowed me to kind of pull out of those storylines, you know, because I don't value it as much. It's not that, because remember, I started in public policy, so I have opinions politically.
Yes,
like
of course.
I mean, and I've said a lot of those things, but it really, at this point in my life, it's like, you know, I could work on conflict resolution in Washington, or I can work on conflict resolution right here with these 5 people in my teacher training, right here, right now. Like I can make more of a difference right here, rather than spending my energy going to dinner and complaining and freaking out about the world and all of the things. Like, let the world be freaked out. Isn't that a line from something like, you know, leave Caesar's things unto Caesar? You know, it's like,
yeah. Right.
I think
Control what you can. It starts with you.
We think that we are smart, you know, because we know so much, and we listen to all the podcasts and we watch all the news and things. And that's like what we were trained to do, you know, like get involved and da-da-da. But I really almost feel like it's a trick. It's like, but that's taking away the peace. And
I was just going to say, if it doesn't feel peaceful, isn't that a guide for you, right? And some people might say, oh no, this feels peaceful to me, but does it? I'm not sure.
How does your heart feel? You know, in the yoga practice, we learn how to quiet the thinking mind and wake up the feeling body.
Oh, isn't that scary?
Yeah. Yeah, because the feeling body feels, and a lot of people are detached from.
Oh, I was.
For sure.
And honestly, it's like my body started telling me the truth and I didn't like it.
I hear you.
I'm like, I don't want to hear that. No.
Yeah, I hear you.
You're under too much stress, Maria. You have to let go a lot. No, I have to control more.
Right.
No, Maria, you don't. You need to let go more. No, I don't. I want to control the things.
Right. And control is, you know, it's an adapted behavior. It's something we learned from our families of origin. It usually has to do with, you know, and some of the work that we do is go back and like, you know, go, when was the time that you felt you needed to be in control? And like, if you can pull out some of those memories, and I mean, it sounds like you do this in your work too, and like reconnect with that aspect of yourself and invite that aspect of yourself to know that things are different now because you're here. You know, I'm here.
Yes. Yeah. That comes full circle back to what you were saying before, right? Your innocent self. You are innocent. Go back to that place where you felt the need to be in control of the things, right? I know exactly when that was, through some shamanic Reiki work. And talk to that part of you, right? Yeah. Yeah. It's really interesting. So I am quite cerebral, right? Like psychotherapist, all about the mind. Mind body connection, yeah, but it starts with the mind, right? But yoga, again, was that first place that I started listening, actually hearing what my body was saying. And it healed all kinds of, I have a history of an eating disorder, fertility issues, all of that was like, I would say healed. right? Even though can't say healing, no, no. But I would say so because it's just so transformative.
I agree. You know, I would agree with you in that it does start with the mind. You know, it's the yoga.
I was totally being facetious, but
No,
but thank you. No.
well, it's just that we just think all of the, like my yoga teachers say, you know, your thoughts are make believe.
Mm,
Like, what? Like, I am the smartest person. I wrote all the papers. I had all of the lectures. But it's like, no, your thoughts are, it's just the programs. It's like, how do we recode this stuff? Like, do you
mm,
really think that? Like, if you really start to ask yourself, like, do you really think you need to be in control? Like, what would happen if you just delegated a little bit? Or what would happen if you trusted someone else to show up for you?
mm.
It's like,
Ooh, that's a big one.
it's big stuff because our energies are all whacked out. Like our masculine energy is whacked out, our feminine energy, our child energy is
So
whacked.
much.
And so when you speak about healing and like healing the physical body, because you've learned how to quiet that part of your mind that is going rogue, and not blame yourself for the rogueness. It's just rogue. It's like a fact. It's like this is just what's happening.
Mhm.
Practice and in meditation, we allow ourselves to kind of like be the observer.
Mhm.
And then we can start to be discerning. You know, what thoughts will I value? You know, what relationships do I value? You know, a lot of people we spend so much time looking at what's wrong or the person that doesn't like us rather than the 35 that love you.
Oh, sure.
It's like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm kind of at this place with my own life and with the clients that I'm working with of really just asking all of us to take more ownership of our experience.
Mm.
You know?
Yes. I do know. I do know. I think that that's when you are able to come to that settledness, that settled feeling of really being authentic and who you are from that total that acceptance place. Nobody's wrong here. We're all just behaving, and I want to behave differently. Therefore, I'm going to do this. And that person can do what they would like to do, and I honor that.
Yeah.
Um, I also get to choose whether or not I want that person in my life. You know, there's a boundary I get to set if I want to. But you're back to the very beginning. You show up differently
Hmm.
when you are fully yourself and calm, confident, secure, um, from love, not
Yeah.
from fear.
Right.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. That's one of my favorite lines from A Course of Miracles is that God's will for us is perfect happiness.
Mm, that's a
I just love
good
that.
line.
I was raised thinking God's will for me was suffering, you know, self-sacrifice,
Yes, me
you
too.
know, and so to reframe that and like to really see if I could subscribe to that. Like, really, God wants me to be happy?
Mm.
Like, the yoga prayer is consistent with that. The yoga prayer is may all beings everywhere be happy and free.
Oh, I love that.
I love that too. It's like, well, when I'm not happy, then why am I blaming that person on TV for that?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yep.
you're the one who's unhappy. Well, get happy.
Yeah. Yeah. Or at least aim for neutral. At least start there.
That's
Yeah.
all events are neutral. We could look at it that all events are neutral.
Yeah.
But you know, use the word happy and joy and those things because those vibrations are really high vibe. You know, they're like you feel it in your body. I feel it in my body. It's like if I feel guilt and shame, I feel that in my body. It's very low
Yes.
energy,
Yes.
dense.
You can. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you can feel it.
You can sense the difference. Yeah. Before yoga, though, I should say I didn't feel that. It really, mind, body, everything was separate to me, even though I understood conceptually they were related. I really did not practice that. It
Yeah,
was not until yoga that I was like, oh,
yeah.
I get it now. I feel what fear feels like. I feel what joy feels like. I feel what purity feels like, or happiness, or sadness, or yeah.
Because yoga and you know the breath work, it quiets it enough so we can start to really step into the observer, you
Yeah.
know, start to observe and then, self-correct. If we make a mistake, we can self-correct. We don't
Yeah.
have to go guilt and shame and frustration and control. We can buy.
I'm so glad you went there. Yes. I am so glad you went there because I think that's part of the process of moving into this new way of being. I remember I did mindfulness-based stress reduction training. It's an 8-week mindfulness training, and we were made to take notes of all of our mindfulness sessions, right? And I remember distinctly one note that I took. I said, so I was thinking, and then I was judging the thinking, and then I was judging the judging of the thinking, and then I was judging the judging of the judging of the thinking. All of that judgment, right? So when we perceive ourselves as being wrong, then it's like, oh, great, now I suck, I'm bad. I call it kicking the puppy. The puppy runs up to you, trips and falls. And what do? You kick it. Instead of like, oh, come here, baby. It's okay. It's okay. Right? Stop kicking the puppy. No need to
Yes,
kick the puppy.
stop doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. Hold that puppy. Hold that baby.
Yeah.
Okay. So you made a perceived mistake. Hold yourself, please.
Hmm.
Please.
Yeah.
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 Wow. Well, it sounds like you are doing really beautiful work, and you said worldwide, right? So can people from anywhere um, connect with you and learn from you and all that?
Yeah. I mean, I've taken the last few years off, not totally off, but I really backed out of a lot of things. But at one point, we lived in Mexico and I had, big groups. We called ourselves the Mighty Companions. It's a phrase from the Course in Miracles. And it was really about learning how to quiet the inner critic and wake up the,
Mm.
and yeah, I've had people all over the world. It's actually been quite fun. And when we were in Mexico, people would come and see us. And even here in my hometown, I'm in Toledo, Ohio right now. I mean, I would say maybe 10 years ago when I had my first studio, we had people coming here from Venezuela, from
Oh
Norway. I mean,
my
just
gosh.
really fun. And it was just like it just happened. It happened because my teacher had a system that really worked and gained some attention, and people were really getting transformation from it and loved the his interpretation of Ashtanga Vinyasa. And so I kind of had that head start, gratefully, but I really expanded. I did a lot of my own work because after he passed, it was like so many people in the community were like, well, what does she know? She's just the one who brought him tea. Like, she's not going to lead this whole thing. But I persevered, and I had Dorothy, my coach, in my back pocket. And I really believed, and I've always known, and I think all of us do if we allow ourselves to know this, that we all have a mission. Like, we all have a ministry. We all have people that are going to hear the truth through you. I love to empower people to really heal themselves and then start to go out and do that, for their family
Yeah.
and their relationships and their lives. And if it's through yoga, great. If it's yoga off the mat, great. If it's, a lot of people do it in many, many different ways. This is just the language that I know, and the way that it
Oh,
comes.
yes.
My goodness, there's so many ways to connect to the divine. And one of the things I love so much about A Course in Miracles is it says that we only have one problem. And that problem is our belief in our separation from our creator.
Yeah.
It's so powerful. It's like, so to the extent that relationship, everything else falls into place. And it's trusting that. It's allowing that to happen. It's healing that after so many years and eons and past lives and ancestral stuff of just programming, and just the lineage stuff can be really hard to break free from, but I think that those people that are here with us now and who are going to listen to this, they know what we're talking about because
Mm-hmm.
they've been tapped. It's like, guess what,
Yeah.
you just got tapped too. So like, you know
Yep.
let's do this thing.
Yeah. And so how can people find you? Do you do like online work? I know you're locally in Toledo, Ohio, but can people connect with you otherwise? Or you're a coach too, right?
I
Or
have, people can just send me an Instagram message. I'm pretty active, and well, I used to be better, but I'm here. And if you write me and you're like, hey, I love what's up, like, how can I get involved? I mean, I have lots of different ways to do that. um I really think that the modules from Yoga Off the Mat, like we're looking for ways to make those more accessible for people, just even to do their own homework. They want to work with me privately. I mean, for me, that was everything. I needed a coach. Like I needed someone that I trusted and that I knew would see the light in me no matter what. You know, I kind of was like flailing through the darkness. And I've had clients give me beautiful testimonials that would say similar things. And that's heartwarming, you know. It's good to know that you can be trusted. You know, I like to be trusted. Well, here's one of my old people, Becca. So we have people. She's in Mexico. I think she might be in Texas now, but we have people all over the world that have been affected by this work, and that's a beautiful thing. And it's interesting because you and I are having this conversation, and I'm, you know, like I said, I've been kind of in like a yogi in my cave, just kind of, you know, doing my thing and working on my health and my relationships. And now it's like all of a sudden really fast I'm like getting, you know, people saying, hey, let's get on the phone. I'm like, okay, here we go. And then I've got a yoga going to be opening soon and a shop, and so I'm excited. There's a lot of good things.
Lots of movement.
Yeah.
Yes. I don't know if you get to see the comments too, but there's Becca Kersner. I love hearing you, Marie. I don't know if you know who she is, but yeah. Do you see the comments too? I'm curious.
I saw hers.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a little bit strange because it's fine.
I use a
lot more. I mean, we've got, you know, lives, and I have a podcast too that we took down and redoing the website and all the things, but it's kind of, Vivi's another yoga girl. These are all yoga girls from Mexico City that I met.
Very cool. Yay.
I love. Yay.
So much love to spread, right? It sounds like you are doing that. And
thank you.
I also love what you said too. But here's what I heard you say. Use these exact words, but what I heard you say was, here I am in my own little cocoon, spreading a message from me to others, and all of those folks are spreading their messages, and so on and so forth, and so on and so forth. I loved your podcast. Bring it back, if he says. Oh man.
I know she had a podcast. These girls are fun.
People want you.
That makes me feel good. Thanks, guys.
Well, this is awesome. Thanks so much for being here today. And what's your website so folks can go find you?
Yeah, marierussel.com.
Perfect. And that's with one L, Russell.
One L.
And you're
right now is probably the best way to get me, and then I'll
So for folks who are listening to this or watching this later, what is your Instagram handle?
At Marie Russel with one L, the number 1. Perfect.
There we go. You are number 1.
No, Marie Russell plane was taken, so I was like, I'll just add the number 1. I don't know. And then it became something like, gosh, is that so egoic? I think I'm number 1.
No. It was so innocent, wasn't it?
Right.
Just innocent. Back to innocence.
Fabulous. I'm so grateful to meet you. I really enjoyed this conversation.
Me too. Thanks so much for showing up and for being you and spreading your light. This is what the purpose of this is.
Thank you.
I'm so stoked for that.
Thank you.
May you be well. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And have a beautiful rest of your evening. And everyone else too. Thank you for being here.
Bye-bye. All the love. Thank you.